back to my Try It Tuesday series where I review one product that you guys choose every Tuesday. Now today's one of those days where I kind of tweaked the rules a little bit because just according to what I thought would be most useful for you guys. A lot of you guys have been requesting concealers for about 2 weeks now. A lot of you seem to be on the quest, on the hunt for a really good concealer, and basically a concealer is meant to conceal and give you higher coverage than a foundation for those extra little spots that need extra coverage, obviously, like dark circles, pigmentation, breakouts, anything like that, acne scars. And surprisingly, there are a ton of concealers that don't really do its job very well. So what I did this week was I cut down your shopping list and I chose 2 of the best concealers on the market according to Jen. According to what I have tried so far, and I have actually tried a lot of concealers. I own a lot of concealers, but these were my top 2 picks. So basically, if I had to choose 2 concealers out of everything that I've ever tried or owned, these would be it. I put these 2 up, the Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealer and the Makeup Forever Full Cover Extreme Camouflage Cream. Most of you guys voted for the Bobbi Brown, but a lot of you guys also requested like both, and I could see a lot of you were like struggling to choose between both because you wanted to know about both of them. And essentially this series is to help you guys choose. So what I have decided to do is do a comparison of these 2 for this video because I actually like both of these concealers, but they both function in different ways. So it would inform you guys to better choose for what is suitable for you. So first of all, I'm going to start with the Bobbi Brown. Now, a lot of you guys know this is my all-time favorite concealer. It's my holy grail. So they come in 14 different shades, and basically you can buy them in the single concealer version, which is about $35–40 depending on where you are. Or you can buy it in this duo form where it's the concealer, which I've obviously all used up, together with the sheer finish pressed powder, which you're supposed to use to set the concealer. Roughly, depending on where you are in the world, it's an extra $20 for that added pressed powder, which I think is okay but not a must-have if you have a different powder yourself. For me, it kind of cakes a little bit just to skip the long rant. So I always just purchase this, and this is probably about my 10th jar of this product. Now, the creamy concealers are really, really rich. They are very creamy. They contain skin conditioners to protect the sensitive areas around the eyes. So you will definitely not find any problem with the creamy concealers being drying or patching up because it's too dry. They blend very well as well. You can use your fingers, you can use a sponge, or you can use a concealer brush. The creamy concealers apply better with synthetic brushes, so keep that in mind. And the best way to use the creamy concealers is to apply it with a brush first and then using your fingers to sort of pat it over. For me, there is no other concealer out there except for the Makeup Forever Extreme Camouflage Cream, which I only recently found, that can completely hide my really dark circles. I have a really bad sleeping pattern, so you guys will probably know I have really bad dark circles. They're not horribly bad, but a lot of concealers have a lot of trouble concealing my dark circles. So this Bobbi Brown is always with me. The really great thing about the Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealers is that you can layer it on. The first layer can be really sheer, but if you just keep layering it, it can really build up the opacity and the coverage without looking really cakey. Personally, really recommend the Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealers, especially for those who need high coverage. If you don't need really super duper high coverage, then you don't really need to listen to any of this at the moment because these are for really full coverage concealer work. If you need just really light coverage, then just any average like liquid concealer will do, and I can do a whole separate video on concealers if you want to. But I have noticed that some people, like I have a lot of clients that I do makeup for, and if they don't have really bad dark circles, then they don't actually need these products, which are quite expensive. But anyway, for the cons of the Bobbi Brown, the only cons I can think of is firstly that it's quite expensive and it runs out quite quickly. I do have to buy a new one every 3 to 4 months, and that's being conservative. And secondly, that they actually do transfer a little bit. So if you touch it, it will transfer. Especially if you've laid it and you've accidentally touched it, then it will definitely leave a mark and you have to touch it up. Actually, another con of this is that when you set it, it's a little bit difficult to find a perfect setting powder. Sometimes it can look cakey with powder on top, so I actually tend not to set my concealer, which probably adds to the reason why I have to touch up every 3 to 4 hours. But I am actually yet to find a really nice loose powder that makes this finish look really nice and natural. Even my Chanel loose powder doesn't really do justice for it, so that's why I tend to use this on its own. The shade that I use is Sand, which is this salmony yellow peach color. And what I might add here is that you would want to have a look at the correctors, which you're meant to use in conjunction with these concealers. But what I do is I use this as a corrector and concealer because I found the perfect shade for me. Finding the shade is the biggest problem with concealers actually, so you'll probably have to go and ask the sales assistant to help you find the perfect shade. So now onto the Makeup Forever Extreme Camouflage Cream. Now, as you can see, it doesn't actually say that it's a concealer, it's a camouflage cream. So you can actually use this in many different ways, not just as a concealer. A lot of people like to mix this in together with a base, with a BB cream, with a moisturizer, and just use it as a foundation all over the face if you can find the right shade. As you can see, it's a completely different kind of product from the Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealer, which is just a cream concealer in itself. This is like a liquidy formula, and it comes with this squeezy tube so you can control how much comes out. It contains 15 ml of product and it comes in 12 different shades. In Korea, this is 35,000원, which is roughly about $35, so it'll be around the same price depending on where you are and whether you buy it online or in store. Now, this is completely full coverage, but if you don't build it up, this can also be just like medium coverage. You guys have seen in my previous tutorial, I was trying to cover my pimple using this. Now, it didn't really work with that one layer. It needed a second coat. So just keep that in mind. Any concealer, you basically do need to layer it on effectively to make it work. It is sensitive skin tested, and the difference between the Bobbi Brown in terms of coverage is that it is more liquidy and a little goes a long way with this product. I think this one has a little bit more coverage. You do need to use a brush with this, but you don't necessarily have to because it is quite blendable. The Bobbi Brown has a little bit more of a dewy finish to it, and therefore you do have to set it or you do have to retouch up every few hours. But this one lasts a little bit longer because it is matte, but on the other hand, it can be a little bit drying and look a little bit less natural than the Bobbi Brown, if that makes sense. So as my overall comparison of these two products, they're just completely different products. For example, the Bobbi Brown I think is definitely more of an everyday type of product. It's really easy to take out, really easy to touch up, but it doesn't last as long as the Makeup Forever because the Makeup Forever is waterproof. Also, because the Bobbi Brown contains skin conditioners and it's got a sort of dewy finish, it looks more natural, but on the other hand, it doesn't last as long as the Makeup Forever. But the Makeup Forever, in being mattifying and being a little bit more higher coverage, it can look a little bit less natural if you are not careful. So it's a little bit like of a toss-up between those two, depending on what you want. And of course, this one is not so good for touch-ups. It just takes a lot longer to open, and then because it is so opaque, if you even take out like the tiniest bit amount too much, you can sit there blending it for a really long time. So that's one thing. I think this is really good for makeup artists because you can mix it in with your foundation to make your foundation high coverage. There's so many things you can do with the Makeup Forever, whereas this one you can just basically use it as a concealer. And of course, the Makeup Forever is slightly cheaper than the Bobbi Brown. That is basically it, guys. I would repurchase both of them anyway. I would recommend both of them to you guys. You just have to decide on what you prefer. So yeah, that's basically it for my Try Tuesday today. I hope you guys found this useful, and if you have any further questions about the products, just leave it down in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you found it useful, or if you're looking forward to my next segment. And also make sure to leave any suggestions of products, anything that you're kind of on the lookout for down below for me to consider for next week's Try Tuesday. I hope you guys are having a really great week, and I have another video coming up very soon, so stay posted and have a beautiful, beautiful day, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
I took a deep breath. I want to start a relationship with her. So I actually brought her to my favorite place in Sydney. It's where you can see how rich, a very view of how rich, and I took her there. I took a deep breath, asked her